What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the iPhone 16e. So this is Apple's new budget iPhone. It technically replaces the iPhone SE from 2022 that was most similar to the old school iPhones of yesteryear. Think iPhone 8. Obviously, long overdue for an overhaul, but rather than re-releasing a small, cheap iPhone with a home button again, Apple decided, this time around, to take different features from the current regular iPhone 16 and some design elements of the iPhone 14, and then omitted some things like camera lenses and MagSafe for some reason, to wind up with this. Not an SE, but an E, lowercase, which supposedly stands for economical, but this new 16e is also not so cheap anymore either. There's obviously a lot to talk about here, but first things first, let's just quickly unbox them, and then I'll go over the good, the bad, and everything else you need to know. So the iPhone 16e comes in any color you want, as long as those colors are black or white. I decided to get them both just so we could compare them, but you wouldn't even know they're different colors just by looking at the boxes. The iPhone text and Apple logo are the only indication of a color difference, which is a little surprising. Not even the phone's wallpapers are different. But sliding off the lid, there are the new iPhone 16s, all monochromatic looking. And as far as what all comes included, well, you do get the nice nylon braided USB-C cable, which is cool. This is probably the most premium cable included with any smartphone still nowadays. And then just a small stack of paperwork, which tragically no longer includes those iconic Apple stickers. Now, as I peel back that last protective layer and power them on, I want to talk about pricing because this is just the first of many controversial aspects with the 16e. You guys might remember that the previous iPhone SE was truly a cheap iPhone. I mean, it started at $429 in 2022, which was $30 more than the previous 2020 iPhone SE, but still well under $500, when the rest of Apple's lineup is $800 or more. This new iPhone 16e, however, well, it's now a $600 device. That evens out Apple's pricing structure for the current 16 lineup. There's technically a $200 difference as you jump from tier to tier, but it's pretty pricey considering what it technically replaces. And it's only $100 cheaper than the iPhone 15, which Apple still sells. And arguably, the iPhone 15, even though it's a year older, it's actually the better smartphone in a couple of categories. So the price for the 16e, it seems to me, and a lot of other people, to be a bit higher than it maybe should be. Especially since, and even Apple suggests this, the 16e is primarily for folks who have a previous SE iPhone, or who have a really, really old iPhone, like a 10R. I guess for those folks, it's been a long time coming to finally upgrade, and comparatively, there would be a lot that's new and different. But there's also plenty of oddities and omissions with the 16e that further make it kind of questionable. Size-wise, the 16e is the same old 6.1-inch form factor we've had on regular iPhones for quite a few years now. What's unique, though, is that this phone has the previous generation Face ID and selfie camera notch design and thicker side bezels surrounding the display that last graced the iPhone 14. So from the front, that's what this phone most closely resembles. And perhaps Apple will continue this design for some additional years, in the same way that they kept the home button alive from the previous SE for probably way too long. In any event, I don't think it's a huge miss not having the dynamic island notch. And again, I also don't think Apple expects anyone to go backwards to this phone if they have a newer iPhone currently. Around back, the black or white finish is frosted glass, and the all-aluminum frame finishes off the premium Apple build that you'd expect on an iPhone. With the design and the materials, there's definitely nothing cheap or budget there. And in the hand, with the flat sides especially, this 16e, again, most closely resembles the iPhone 14, I'd say, if you ignore that lonely little camera lens. More on that in a moment. Taking a quick look around, on the left side, you do have your volume buttons as well as the action button, which we've had on the last few generations of iPhones, but it's technically a new feature on this tier. On the right, there's just the power button, no camera control button on this phone, which I am totally okay with, nothing on the top, and at the bottom, the USB-C charging port flanked by a couple of speakers and a microphone. And around back, probably the biggest limitation with this 16E, just that single 48 megapixel camera. Now, as far as the screen and the viewing experience, there's honestly not a lot to say here. The 6.1-inch display is a Super Retina XDR OLED panel at the better than 1080p resolution, 1170 by 2532, that packs in around 457 pixels per inch. Those specs are similar to what we've seen on most regular iPhones from previous years. Again, this is probably the same screen as what was on the iPhone 14, and it is technically worse than the current iPhone 16, at least when it comes to brightness. This display peaks at just 800 nits when you crank it up yourself, and 1200 nits with auto brightness enabled. The current regular iPhone 16 has 1000 nits of user-controlled brightness and 2000 nits of peak brightness. It's going to be a lot brighter and look better, especially outdoors. Also, this 16E might have a lesser or older ceramic shield glass covering the display, so perhaps a little more glare-prone and less durable. But most importantly, and unsurprisingly, this 16E has a 60 Hz refresh rate display. But in all honesty, I think this is the one instance where it's justified, because I truly don't think anyone who buys this iPhone would ever care about the refresh rate. The viewing experience overall seems good enough for folks to watch their content or scroll through social media. It's still an XDR OLED panel, so it's colorful and vibrant. That's probably the only thing that matters here. You also have a dual speaker setup for your out loud listening pleasure. It's the exact same as any other iPhone, and I won't cause you any distress with a sound sample this time. So inside this 16E, Apple chose to use their current Gen A18 Bionic processor along with 8 GB of RAM. That's technically the same internal setup as the regular iPhone 16, and performance-wise, you're getting nearly a current, fast flagship experience. The processor itself is slightly nerfed though, so it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison to the regular iPhone 16, though I doubt anyone would notice day to day. And what's most interesting is that even this budget iPhone is set up with all things Apple Intelligence. Now, I'll leave my opinions on Apple's AI for a different video, but I do recognize the fact that this will put Apple Intelligence into the hands of even more people and introduce a lot of those software features to folks who otherwise might not have had them for years to come if they chose, say, an iPhone 13 or iPhone 14 instead of this 16E. I personally don't think Apple Intelligence is a selling point for this 16E per se. I don't consider it a selling point for any iPhone at all, honestly, but it's a perk, I suppose. And considering Apple's propensity to keep updating older iPhones for years and years, I also suspect this 16E will keep getting new iOS versions with new features for a long time. So your money is well spent in the long run. And overall, while Apple absolutely could have just stuck some older processor inside this phone, and I don't think anyone would have been surprised to see that, they chose not to. And it's the performance potential that's probably the saving grace with this phone overall, but I'm not sure it's entirely enough to justify its existence, sadly. Sorry, 16E. Also, inside this new phone is, weirdly enough, a slightly larger battery, 3,961 milliamp hours compared to 3,561 milliamp hours in a regular iPhone 16, and bigger still than the iPhone 15, and obviously significantly bigger than any older SE. That's great. I don't know that the couple hundred extra milliamp hours amount to too much, but bigger is better, no matter the difference. The controversial thing here is that for some reason, Apple decided to not give the 16E MagSafe. Now, you need to understand that the 16E supports wireless charging, it just doesn't have the magnets to work with Apple's MagSafe accessories, or the millions of other cool, useful MagSafe third-party accessories that are out there, like the phone stands or the car chargers. The 16E itself is nearly magnetic. It almost feels like it could stick, but not quite. And Apple says that people buying this phone just don't care about MagSafe, but that doesn't make any sense to me. There's an entire ecosystem of products out there already, and I feel like everyone knows about MagSafe now. So it's really, really strange to not include it on this iPhone. I mean, how much could the magnets have possibly cost if it was a budget thing, you know? Finally, the dead giveaway that this is in fact a 16E and not some other older regular iPhone is that lonely little camera lens on the back. You get just a single 48 megapixel shooter, paired to, fortunately, the same 12 megapixel selfie lens that's on every other iPhone. And while the camera itself, I'm sure, is more than fine to capture regular old pictures day to day, this is just another odd limitation for this phone. When you consider the fact that a simple secondary wide-angle lens would have added so much functionality, and that cameras as a whole have been just such a huge part of the iPhone's overall feature set and upgrades the last 3 or 4 years. Given Apple's assumptions that only former SE owners are buying this phone, I suppose they won't know any better anyway. One lens is all they've ever used, and perhaps pictures and videos aren't a priority in that case. But still, considering how much more money this budget iPhone is now, I think a decent camera setup should have been a given, though if it were any better, I also suppose there'd be no reason to opt for the regular 16. So perhaps that's the whole point in the end with using just one single lens. So here's my quick day one summary on this new 16E. On the one hand, it's great that Apple is continuing this tradition of offering a cheap iPhone, but it ain't that cheap now. And while it's far better than the previous SE it technically replaces, it's an odd mishmash. The design of an iPhone 14 with certain components and features from the current iPhone 16 and bizarre omissions like MagSafe and a second camera lens. To me, the iPhone 16E as it exists almost seems unnecessary, and I would have preferred the regular iPhone 16 to just be cheaper, or for Apple to now just have less iPhones to choose from. I really don't see a specific reason to buy this 16E over anything else you could get right now. Even some of the older iPhones probably, since they are so cheap now. But what do you guys think about this new iPhone 16E? Are you considering it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.